All right, what's going on, everyone? Captain here, back with another Marvel Contest Champions video. Today we are going on to the Cosmic class, talking about which 6-star Cosmics are worthy of using a Cosmic Awakening gem on, in case we happen to see some class-based Awakening gems out of these Cyber Weekend deals coming in a few days. This is going to be hopefully helpful in in deciding on who to use them on. If you want to see the rest of the videos for other classes, I've done 3 other ones at this point. They are up on the channel. I'll put a link to the last one I did above me there. So go ahead and check those out if you haven't seen them yet. But today we're going to be talking all about the Cosmic class, another one that is a really stacked class and has a lot of worthy candidates of being on this top 5. So it was hard to narrow this one down. So disclaimer again out the start here. This is my own list. I came up with this on my own. I'm not going to claim that this is the best list out there, and you should stick to this no matter what. If you have someone else you'd rather use an Awakening Gem on, that's perfectly fine. Let me know down in the comments what you think about my list and what I got right, who I left off, and what I got wrong, more importantly, probably. But let's go ahead and jump on into this. So I have this one broken down into 3 sections. First one will be characters I don't know enough about, which is going to be just Icarus and Cersei. They both just came in the game within the last month. I haven't looked into them at all. I've only just faced them in the event quest, and that's kind of about it. So I don't know personally enough about them. They might be worthy of the top 5. They might not be, but for now, I'm just going to leave them on the I don't know anything about them. So I'm not going to put them, say you shouldn't use one or say you should, because I need more information before I do that. Then moving on to the honorable mention before we get into the actual top 5. We've got a couple in here that, some of them that just barely missed the list, and some that I don't know if I'd really actually use an Awakening Gem on them. They're just more champions that they definitely benefit from the Awakening ability, so I don't know, maybe that's not an honorable mention, but hey, I've got them on the list, so here we go. We're going to start with King Groot. Since his buff, I know there's a lot of love for this character. A lot of people really like him. His regen is insane, and his Awakened ability only helps that even more. So yeah, that's pretty good. And his poisons, I believe it looks like they last longer, I think. Again, being kind of honest, I haven't looked at his buff since then, so kind of another reason why I'm kind of putting him in this honorable mention, because I don't, almost borderline that don't know enough about, I guess. I just know that his regen is insane, and it looks like his Awakened ability is part of that. So next on the list, we've got another 6-star that she's currently in the featured 6-star pool, and that is Medusa. Once she's awakened, she gets access to her Furies, and the Furies, once she's at 3 of them, she gets the auto block, which is more of a defensive kind of thing. So it's not super important, but at least worth mentioning. If you have all the other Cosmics awakened, you could use one on her. And then next on the honorable mention, I just realized I changed my list around a little bit. I had someone in honorable mention and then moved him out. I forgot to take him out of there, so that we'll remove him. Next we have Captain Marvel movie, the movie version of Captain Marvel. One of my favorite characters that, since she's been added into the game, I pulled her as a 5-star out of an early access crystal. So I've had her since the beginning. I used a Cosmic Awakening gem for a 5-star back then on her, and used her so much over the years. And now I finally have her as a 6-star Awaken, and I only have her at rank 2, but I would love to take her to rank 3 eventually. Her Awaken ability, she gets her binary ignition, her binary, she goes indestructible for a couple seconds, and if it's at max sig, it's for 12 whole seconds, and that's a long 12 seconds. Super helpful at the start of a lot of fights if you're starting it in that binary mode. She can shrug off the suicide masteries, any nodes that have a debuff that you're putting on you right at the start of the fight. If you have access to this right early in the fight, then you're just going to get rid of everything. It's super nice, as well as the cooldown. It'll come back faster the higher sig, to get that indestructible again. And of course, the indestructible only activates if you have 20 or more charges, so that is one thing to keep in mind. And the only weird thing with her Awakened ability, though, is when she gets hit by a special attack now while you're in binary mode, you lose the indestructible, and you take half of the damage, like half of your charges, I get cut in half. It's kind of weird. But yeah, that happens. So you kind of get a negative in a sense. It's kind of weird, but you know, if you're not getting hit, then you don't have to worry about it. So that's Captain Marvel. She's a fantastic character, but also really needs to pair with Nick Fury to get the full benefit of Captain Marvel. And then the final one that I have in honorable mention, and this guy, I only have him in honorable mention because this character is currently not in the basic. He's a really exclusive 6-star, which is the change that I made. I originally had him in my top 5. And if he was in the basic, I would probably have kept him in the top 5. And that's Hyperion. So Hyperion, his awakened ability makes it so that all of his buffs last longer. They have a longer duration. And it's really nice because he has a lot of furies. He has a lot of power gains. So it means those buffs will stay on a lot longer throughout the fight. So getting him awakened is awesome. And he doesn't even need that high of a sig because you can see the range is only from 65% to 75%. It's really not that difference from Sig 1 to Sig 200. So he's a really cheap, you know, like I said with this list, it's nice if you have a character you can use an Awakening Gem on that you don't need to throw a lot of Sigs into because Sig Stones are almost just as rare as these Awakening Gems. So especially if you're free to play out there. So yeah, that I really wanted to put him on the list, but the fact that he's not in the basic, he's just such an exclusive character that I couldn't do it. But if he ever gets on that, he's definitely in the top 5 for me. I'm trying to film here, River. You like the new microphone? Not a scratching post. I think River likes the new mic. She likes the new mic arm and everything. Can I finish my video? All right. Okay, now moving into the official top 5 for my list. With the number 5 spot, we're going to throw in Silver Surfer. I mean, I can't mention this cosmic class without mentioning the guy who is the top prestige character in the game. Even going up to rank 4, he will continue being the top prestige. And the only reason I'm putting him down at 5 is because that's kind of the only benefit to this champion. Unfortunately, he's got some usability. There's been a couple times here and there where I've been like, oh yeah, I'll use Silver Surfer for this, but not a bunch. I basically took him up for prestige, and I did indeed use a Cosmic Awakening Gem on him, and you know, I don't have really any regrets of doing that. Maybe down the road, if I pull a certain Cosmic character, maybe if there's one that's aren't even released, someone will come out, maybe I'll pull one of them. I'm like, oh, I wish I had that. But for the time being, I don't regret using it. I personally had most of the Cosmics awakened already that I needed awakened. So I think it was fine move for me. I needed the prestige, so I'm going to have that for now and forever, basically. Probably won't take him to rank 4 anytime soon. But yeah, his awakened ability is just, you know, all the buffs, they get increased potency. So it's good, I guess. But he just doesn't hit that hard in the first place. So doesn't really do anything. It's just a prestige rank up, but I had to put him in at least at number 5. He was the one I had an honorable mention, but since this list is geared toward more end game and prestige takes a big part in that, I had to move him in there for the number 5 spot. So now going on to number 4, we've got a character that was buffed earlier this year, and that is Angela, one of the better buffs that they've done since they started this whole buff program of buffing a couple characters a month. And she is one that definitely has benefited from her awakened ability. So Angela's new awakened ability makes it so she becomes nullify and auto block immune, essentially. And the best way to describe this was when we had the Summer of Pain going on and there was that annoying Symbiote Supreme boss that just put a bunch of staggers on you all the time. Well, if you had a high sig Angela, you never had to worry about those because she just ignored the nullify and you wouldn't take that damage. Even mine, which is only at Sig 72 at the time, was a little bit lower than that, I believe. I was still able to do that with her, even though I don't have the high full. At Sig 200, it's a 35% block, auto block and nullify ability accuracy that she ignores. And that's for each buff on her. And Angela has a bunch of buffs. So yeah, it's super, super useful for Angela, as well as the damage over time. Debuff duration is decreased as well, so takes less damage from that stuff. I think it like you don't take any damage essentially. So yeah, Angela, fantastic after her buff. One of the best. I don't know if it was a full overhaul that she got. I think it was just a moderate one or something. I can't remember exactly how it was all worded. Yeah, she's amazing. I love her at rank 3. I use her a lot in event quests, a bunch of other things. Definitely worth an awakening gem if you've got her. Now moving into the top 3. Number 3 is going to be, I don't think, a controversial one. I think he is pretty well liked in the community, and a lot of people consider him one of the best cosmics in the game right out of the gate, and that is going to be Knull. Knull, one of the newer characters that I actually took the time, because I was so interested in this character, that when we got him on the CCP, I actually played around with him for a little while and recorded some gameplay. Never got around to actually making a video about it. Just kind of lost track of time on that one, and then got behind the curve. All the videos are already out. I'm just like, well, now I'm a little late to the party. So I didn't do the video, but I played around a bunch of this character. I talked with Legacy a bunch about him as well when we first came out, and we were both like super excited about this guy. Still would love to get him. He is one that, like I was saying before, if I were to pull a certain 6-star cosmic, that I kind of wish I would have that awakening gem that I used on Silver Surfer. That was this guy I was talking about. If I pull a Knull, I'll be like, dang it, I wish I had that the awakening gem back, because with his awaken ability, he gains access to more of his living abyss debuffs, which you'll start the fight with those based on your sig level. The higher the sig, the more you start the fight out with. And these are important because when you activate your corruption by using a special attack, I think it's a special 1 or a special 3 that activates it, all the current living abyss debuffs that are on the opponent get converted into armor break debuffs, therefore getting more armor break debuffs out of the gate. With having this ability, you build some up just from doing his heavy attacks and whatever his special 1 adds a bunch of them on there. But then having these extra 13, if you're at max sig, it's at 13 right out the gate, then you're going to be starting out, you're going to have a lot more armor break debuffs, so you're just doing a lot more damage. And then he also becomes unstoppable and unblockable whenever he activates his corruption, so that's also a super helpful thing. And then the last one, which I didn't really find came into play that much, except against people that just have a ton of regen, like for example, the Realm of Legends Wolverine fight. Anytime they activate a regen, when the opponent is between, based on your sig, 10 to 50% health, then instead of a regen, it activates a degen. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, Knull, I think he's worth an awakening gem. Definitely agree with people who say he's one of the top cosmics in the game. I would love to get him. He is awesome. So yeah, I would definitely use an awakening gem on him too. All right, we've made it. We are at the top tier champions of the cosmic class. Number 1 and number 2. Who to use an awakening gem on? They just so happen to be, in my opinion, the 2 top characters in the game as well. And that is, it's between Hercules and Corvus Glaive. And this is another one that was just hard to place them, say who's 1 and who's 2. But for me, you can see I have both at rank 3. I've had a good amount. I've had Corvus for a long time. Everyone knows how to play Corvus. Hercules, a little bit more of a newer character for me, but I've been trying to learn him. I've been getting a lot better over time with him and understanding how he works. So definitely having fun with him. So I feel like I've got enough of a grasp over him to properly rank these 2. And for me, I ended up putting Corvus Glaive at number 2. Reason being, well, first off, we'll talk about what his awakened ability does. If you don't know, basically makes him immune to dying for a period of time. So he has his 20 glaive charges. As long as he has at least one of those charges, if he is at 1% health, if he's at 1 HP, he won't die. So if you have any like bleeds on you, poisons, any kind of damage over time, as long as you don't get hit and that last charge gets removed, or if you don't use a medium attack or anything like that that would remove that charge, you have charges left on you, you won't die. And it is a very nice thing that people have been able to cheese a lot of fights with, especially in Alliance Quest, which now with Alliance Quest Map 8, you can't do anymore, which I think is a good thing because it's a cheesy method. It shouldn't really be a thing, but it was definitely a nice thing people were able to take advantage of. The other part of his awakened ability is once you have ran out of all those charges, if you run out in a fight, his cooldown is a lot quicker based on your higher sig. So he doesn't need, it's not super important because most fights you're finishing within those 20 hits, and you don't have to worry about that. So Sig 1 Corvus Glaive is just as good as a Sig 200 one in my personal opinion. Mine's at level 91 only because I did, when I first pulled him and awakened him, that was in my Cyber Weekend video 2 years ago, and I pulled him in back-to-back 6-star crystals. It was pretty nuts. And then I did throw a couple Sigs into him initially, and then since then those are all natural Sigs because I've duped him quite a few times. So yeah, I think he only needs a Sig 1, which is a beautiful thing about Corvus. So if you're using an Awakening Gem, you're getting good value using it on him, and I would not blame you one bit for using it on him. But the one reason why I dropped him to 2 instead of Hercules is because when you are at that Sig, when you are on that like 1% HP, you know, it's a really high risk, high reward play, because anytime you get hit into your block, you lose some of those charges. Anytime you really have to play like perfect once you're at 1%, essentially. Whereas with Hercules, I'll explain why I put him a higher on the list. So while you can benefit a bunch from it, you have a little more room, less room for error with Corvus, in my opinion. So that's why I've dropped him down to number 2, even though still fantastic character, obviously. Alliance War, Alliance Quest God still, so can't go wrong with Corvus. Then that brings us to number 1, Hercules himself. And I mean, this dude, he has been so freaking fun to play with. He's been my MVP so far of map 8. I've used him every day so far and have had, I wouldn't say 0 issues, but that's just because it's still learning the nodes and everything in map 8. But the big thing with his Awaken ability is, again, similar to Corvus. If you would take a hit that would have knocked you out, instead you gain an immortality buff, which prevents you from dying, which is awesome. Kind of like Corvus. If you're at that 1%, you're not going to die. But the difference here is Hercules also goes unblockable for a certain amount of seconds, up to 9, I believe it is, at Sig 200. And the immortality also, though, gets paused if you use a special attack or if you're hitting into them with a basic attack. If you get hit by a special 3, though, it will kill you. And then the last part, too, for 2 seconds after completing a feat, he gains more combat power rate. So during this time, too, while you have it activated, you're going to be gaining more combat power rate. So it's as long as you stay really aggressive, once you have that immortality buff, you feel just like that. You feel like immortal. You can't die. Like, as long as you're staying really aggressive, that's going to last way more than the 9 seconds, because you're going to be throwing special attacks. You're going to be doing all sorts of things. You basically feel like you can't be beat. And that's where it separated me with Corvus and Hercules, because 1% with Corvus, you're feeling like, I can't mess up. I got to be perfect. If I make a mistake, I'm dead. Whereas with Hercules, you get to that 1%, you're just like, well, I just got to play aggressive as I can, and I'll be fine. And River is all over the camera tonight. And the last thing with Hercules too, I don't think he necessarily needs the Sig levels. Yes, it does allow that to go from 3 seconds to 9 seconds. But again, like I said, as long as you're staying aggressive, it will help. But I mean, the more Sigs you put into him is more ideal. And plus he does have high prestige as well. So that is pretty nice to have. So I've been putting my Sigs into him. Originally I was putting them all into Angela, but now since I pulled Hercules, I've been putting him into him. So that's going to do it for my top 5 list, guys. One character, I guess, that I didn't mention that I almost had in the honorable mention, which maybe could make an argument for honorable mention, is Cosmic Ghost Rider. But at the same time, this character is so amazing without it that I don't know, even if I were to get one, if I would use it on him. Once he gets his 5 judgments, he turns his debuff into a damnation debuff, where they take a bunch of direct damage over time, as well as they get power locked, heal blocked, and fate sealed. So a lot of good things with the Awaken ability, but damage wise, the big numbers from the specials you're still going to have. You don't have to worry about missing out on any of that. You just get a little more extra dot damage with the damnation. That's what it's called. I was like, forgot the name there. And then the extra block, the buffs there, debuffs at the end. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if he doesn't need it, so didn't want to put him on there. So that's going to do it, guys, for the Cosmic class. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree with me. Up next, we will have the Tech class, which I feel like might be one of the more straightforward ones of this list. So hopefully I'll get through that one a lot quicker. Again, I try to keep these videos short, and they kind of just, I start talking and I keep going, and just happens. So my apologies if this was a little bit long for you, but hey, a lot of information to get through and a lot of stuff to address with these kinds of videos. So I hope you guys still enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.